Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 6th round of Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Season 3 GT3. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudie back once again. This time a bit different because obviously I'm now, there might be a little bit of background noise for those that might be able to hear. Good evening to Kieran Vidago. Good evening to Gene Pinchbeck on the official YouTube channel. Steve Proudie from his domicile, and I'm currently in Simply Race headquarters here in Milton Keynes. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, Alex. Yeah, how are you, buddy? Looking forward to some good racing tonight?
Yep, 2 sprint races here at the fantastic circuit Zolder, based in the Limburg region in Belgium. A tight and technical circuit with plenty of overtaking opportunities. But just like Misano a few weeks ago, we do have 2 30-minute sprint races. So 2 10-minute qualifying sessions. It's going to be door-to-door, battle-to-battle all the way through the evening, isn't it, Steve?
Absolutely. The boys have been putting some proper practice in for this one, and the chicane at turn sort of 5, I believe it is, that's catching a few of them out. The curbs are very aggressive there, and they're telling me that that's what's making or breaking the lap times. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be over 20 cars on the grid, and it's going to be door handle to door handle, very, very close tonight.
Looks like the Audis are very strong here as well, considering Team WRT are based out of Belgium. So the Audi R8 LMS Evo clearly showing the pace around here, around this fantastic circuit, which has hosted the original Belgian Grand Prix between 75 and 85. René Arnoux holds the race lap record back in the Ferrari 126 C4 back in 1984. But also, under the current iteration, it's a 2.492 mile circuit, 4.011 kilometers, with Sebastian Bourdais when he was racing with Newman Haas back in 2007. Also had the opportunity of breaking the lap record, and also the late François Sévère also held the lap record when it had the iteration between 63 and 74 back in 1973. So let's have a look at the points coming into this round. So as you can see, after 5 rounds, Archie Clifford Roberts leads the way with 252 points, ahead of James Hartnell, who won last time out after a fantastic encounter at Monza. He's only 26 points behind. Chris Crossman from EBM Racing, or BD Racing, is in 3rd with 210. Aaron Walker, Stephen Haley, from the 2 Hitotsuyama Audis, looking very strong still. Regan Mitchell, Lukasz Kakos, Dave Hedges, Kevin Critchley and Dean Riley round out the top 10 positions. And it's looking very interesting at the top, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it is. It's still all to play for. With we're only at round 6 tonight, so there's plenty of points to be had. 50 points possible tonight for if you win both races, obviously, and a couple of points for fastest laps. But let's not discount those Porsches. They've got a good chance of winning as well tonight.
Yeah, so you can see that everyone all the way down to Chris Bowman in the Mercedes AMG under the Mirage Motorsports, but running the Ram Racing livery, that's 32 drivers this season so far over the first 5 rounds. We're now into the second half of the season, have all scored points. And there's a few drivers that haven't had the opportunity to showcase their true potential, but I'm sure that in the next 5 rounds we will have some more drivers clawing some points, some important points. But obviously with the community that we have here at Simsport Racing, it's definitely the place to race. Let's have a look at the team standings after 5 rounds. As we head into the 2 sprint races here at Zolder, the Editors leading by just 8 points ahead of Hitotsuyama. So it's an Audi 1-2 at the moment. Tempesta Racing, after a great show by James Hartnell last time out at Monza, brings them up to 3rd place, just 8 points ahead of BD Racing in the 911 Porsches. RPM Racing rounding out the top 5 ahead of Barwell Motorsport, Dutch Desire. Obviously, that's Mark Neutling's team, judging by the team name there. Fordzilla, obviously, they are running in 8th place ahead of Santaloc Racing, and Bentley Team M Sport rounding out the top 10. But it's still pretty close when you look at it, Steve, that any one of the top 4 could strike here at Zolder and take the points advantage going into the next round.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Walker and Steve Haley in the Hitotsuyama Audis will, they'll have an eye on that first place for the team, up against Dave Hedges and Archie Clifford Roberts there for first place.
All the way down to 25th in the team standings, which is rounded off again by Mirage Motorsports with the Mercedes AMG GT3, have all scored points this season. So good to see that. Obviously, we had some good performances from the last Jaguar Racing team in 19th with Pixley and Parker showing a bit more credence than the Jaguar XKR GT3s, which were run by Emil Fay Jaguar Racing as a non-supported works entry in real life. So still more opportunities for people to score points. But it's a good track here at Zolder before we go on to the hot lap very shortly.
Yeah, it's a very technical track, like as you were saying. It's very difficult to get the run on anybody to make that pass. So we are in for some close racing, as we saw with the GT4s the other evening. I think it'll be much the same, just a little bit quicker tonight.
Indeed. So without further ado, let's head on a hot lap here at Circuit Zolder. Here's a lap at Circuit Zolder with Rich Smith in the Tech 1 Racing Lexus RCF GT3, heading across the start-finish line, braking down from around 140 in fifth through Erster into second gear at around 80 miles an hour. Now into a complex of right-handers, first starting off with Sterrenbach Bocht, third gear 78 on the apex, now going through Canal Bocht, increasing the speed up to fourth gear, exiting the corner around 120 miles an hour before braking for Lucien Bianchi Bocht, taking it third gear around 100 miles an hour. Now up to the short blast towards the Kleine Schikane, braking from fifth gear at around about 145 on the speedo, through into the left and into the right at around second, 75 miles an hour. Up through Sacrament Schelling, down the dip into Butte, before you head towards the Villeneuve chicane. Now this time it's a right-left chicane. First gear, around about 55 miles an hour through the double apex, and then into the right-hander at Terlabenbocht. Just a few more corners to go as we power up through the gears. Into fifth at around 135 before braking down for Boulderbergbocht. Down again to the slowest part on the circuit, around 45 miles an hour in first gear. Heading through Jochenwindbocht, and now through to the last chicane, which will be known as Jackie Ixbocht. Down into first gear, once again around 50 on the apex, powering through the corners up to second, up to third, and then crossing the start-finish line to complete a lap here at Zolder. So now underway with our first of two 10-minute qualifying sessions here at Circuit Zolder in the Limburg region, not based too far from the iconic karting Genk, the home of champions, which has seen the likes of Andre Lotterer, Max Verstappen and a whole host of other talents come through their doors, including 2009 Formula One World Champion and 2018 GT 500 champion for Super GT, Jenson Button. But at the moment, drivers now getting on their outlaps here. And Steve, obviously we were talking about turn 5, which is the Kleine Schikane before they go up through the Sacrament Schelling and down the dip into Butte. It's a very quick elevation change, isn't it, for the drivers here at Zolder?
Yeah, I mean that chicane is mega important. I mean, obviously you've got to get through there as quick as you can without lifting off the power too much. And if you just get the slightest bit of opposite lock of get a bit of oversteer and lose a bit of traction, you suffer all the way up that hill. And it is feasible to be passed going up that hill just from losing traction. So yeah, it's very, very important, that chicane.
So we're waiting for the first benchmarks to come in. There will be a 30-minute flat-out sprint over both races this evening. As Steve said, a maximum of 25 points per race for the race winner. And it will be a case of seeing whether Archie Clifford-Roberts, who just goes in and puts in a 1 minute 27.408, James Hartnell. Oh, now there was a bit of a tussle there, and that was through Lukas Kakos, who rejoined the circuit, and then Dave Hedges having a massive off in qualifying. That's not really helped Dave Hedges' chances of a potential top 10 finish, but 6.5 minutes to go. When these drivers are pushing under 90 seconds per lap, Steve, there's still an opportunity to get back into the fray.
There is. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's a shorter circuit than some of the other ones, and with sort of 23 cars on track, it could be a little bit harder to find some clean air, as it were. And obviously, Dave's probably going to come back to the pits now, and he'll have to do an outlap again. And so yeah, it wasn't great, but I'm sure Dave will get it done.
Oh, we've got another replay coming through the Kleine Chicane as, that's caused absolute mayhem just behind. And Jan, that's the, just seeing the number 12 there, and that was of Chris Bowman having massive front end damage as a result of what happened between Hedges and...
I think part of the problem there is you've got a blind right-hander, and it's there's a change in gradient as well, so there's a potential of losing traction. And once you're committed into that blind corner, you're committed, and if somebody's in the middle of the track, there's not a lot you can do about it.
No, so obviously that'll be an escape, which they can do during qualifying. But at the moment, Archie Clifford Roberts leading Stephen Haley by 51 thousandths of a second. Then it's a further nigh on 4/10 back to Aaron Walker. Here's Rich Smith that we went on the hot lap with a little bit earlier on in the broadcast. The Lexus RCF GT3 currently running in P8, 1.5 seconds off of the pace. So yeah, I think the Audis have been looking strong in practice, and it is an Audi 1, 2, 3 at the moment, with Clifford Roberts leading Haley and Walker all covered by just under 4.5 tenths of a second in the after the first half of this 10-minute qualifying session.
Yeah, and Rich just giving us a good demonstration of how to take the chicane there. It was nice, smooth, pretty straight line. Didn't have to, correct the steering at all. And he was on the power and up the hill and away. That was a really good line from Chris, who's a driver on the move. He's a new driver with us this season, and he's showing improvements every race, which is great to see.
Yeah, so James Hartnell is the only prancing horse between the four rings of Audi in the top 5 at the moment, currently 4th, 0.639 seconds off of the pace shown by Archie Clifford Roberts, as these two are battling away over the top spot in the leaderboard by just 26 points. Obviously, Archie Clifford Roberts decided not to take part last time out at Monza, but it has provided a closer dynamic to the championship after the first half of the season, and now the real hard work begins. Lukasz Karkos currently rounding out the... he hasn't even set a competitive lap time yet, obviously with the incident earlier on with Dave Hedges, which then caught out a couple of other drivers, as you said, Steve, with how tight this circuit is, because there's not that really many opportunities to overtake, but if you can make it work, it can be to your advantage or otherwise to your detriment.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be aggressive, but in a measured quantity, so to speak. You've got to pick your moments, you've got to work your moves, and especially in these GT3 cars, the slightest correction here and there, you can lose so much time and potentially end up in an incident. I'm looking down the leaderboard now. I'm seeing Dave Hedges obviously still got to put a lap in after that incident. I'm expecting to see him climb up the board. I think the Porsches will, Chris Crossman, he's got some shiny new Fanatec V3s after his incident at Monza with the pedals, so I'm hoping to see him go a bit better this evening. Just looking for Regan Mitchell on the board, can't see him at the moment.
He's currently P4 on a 1 minute 27.909, just over 8 tenths off of Archie Clifford Roberts, so he's now made it 3 different brands in the top 5, which is rounded out by James Hartnell as Chris Crossman. Yeah, that was, I think, one of the most dramatic moments we've had all season, that he had a pedal failure, and then all of a sudden, I think, wasn't it Chris Pinchbeck that ended up going the other side of him and smacking into the barriers big time?
Yeah, he collected Aaron Walker as well. It was a very unfortunate incident with that, and we sussed out what had happened. Chris had an issue with his pedals, and in ACC on the sim you can set the amount of cars that you can see around you just to maybe ease up on the strain on your graphics card, and Chris had it set low, so I don't think he saw Chris Crossman until the last minute. Caused the problem.
Yeah, I mean, these things do happen, but there is Regan Mitchell. He's now down into 6th as Chris Crossman goes 4th quickest on a 1 minute 27.882. But Archie Clifford Roberts now, as the first driver to go sub 1 minute 27 on a 1:26.931, and that is over a whopping half a second over Steve Haley. Aaron Walker rounds out the top 3. Then it's Chris Crossman, Chris Pinchbeck, Regan Mitchell, James Hartnell, Aaron Martin Pilkington, the leading Aston Martin in the 626. There he is right now on your screens at home as he makes his way through the Jackie X-Bocht. And this is the funny thing, these pronunciations, they're trying to catch me out again, Steve, and I'm not going to let that fly at all.
Are we talking track corner pronunciations now, or is it some of the names? Because to be honest with you, Alex, I struggle with both of them sometimes. Some of these new drivers that are joining us, and the corner names, I've literally printed my track map off and I've numbered the corners because that's how I roll.
That's fine. Each to their own, my good friend. So we're into the last 60 seconds of this qualifying session. Brief yellow flag out as the Rinaldi Racing liveried number 47 Ferrari of Ranjif Kelsey, currently P12 at the moment, 1.7 seconds off of the pace as Archie Clifford Roberts has decided, well, that's enough for race one this evening, as Kelsey now makes his way through the part of the circuit, and I think, yeah, you can just see how much suspension travel there is when they go through, like, say, the Kleine Chicane, which is turns 5 and 6, as we see Peter Hrobar, one of the newest drivers with us, who, Rich Smith has a spin going through the Kleine Chicane. He didn't quite straight line that one, unfortunately. Brings out the yellow flags as one of the Aston Martins goes flying off of the Villeneuve chicane going rally crossing. Would be handy if you had a four-wheel drive there in the Aston Martin, but not quite really what you want there.
No, absolutely not. Like we said, you've got to be smooth. I mean, I'm just looking at the times. I think Chris Pinchbeck will be particularly happy to be qualifying in fourth. He's been putting a lot of practice in. Regan Mitchell was up there in the practice sessions. Chris Crossman, Dave Hedges, good recovery there to say he's probably only had about 5 minutes qualifying after the incidents earlier. James Hartnell will be reasonably happy, and another one to mention, Bliv in 11th in that Nissan. We've seen him round after round. He's improving every race, and he's in 11th at the moment, so he'll be relatively happy with that, I would think.
Definitely. So looks like that Archie Clifford Roberts has secured pole position for race 1 of round 6 here at Zolder. Stephen Haley second by 0.522 seconds in second position. Aaron Walker a further 10th and a bit of drift. Chris Pinchbeck, great job by the 43 there, but it looks like Aaron Walker at the dying seconds has just made it a top 5 Audi clean sweep in the 99. 0.657 on his final lap. So Audi locks out the top 5 positions, followed by Porsche with Chris Crossman, Mercedes with Regan Mitchell, Ferrari with James Hartnell, Lucas Kakos rounds out the top 9, and then it's an Aston Martin of Aaron Martin Pilkington in the 626 rounding out the top 10 positions. So 6 brands in the top 10, make that 7 with Bliv AK and the 747 Nissan Nismo GTR GT3. And Rich Smith takes 12th place in the Lexus. Gavin Utley in the 13th at the head of Peter Hrobar. Adam Isalovic, who was our winner for the season finale of Season 1 of GT4. Season 2 not too far off the cards on September 9th, and myself and Steve are looking forward to that one as well. But really very, very tightly packed between the top 15, around about 1.6 seconds there, Steve, and it's looking rather interesting for race 1.
It's looking very interesting because obviously, as we've said, very difficult track to overtake on. So that first lap, jostling for position, getting alongside in some of the braking zones, trying to make up as many positions as you can. It's going to be very, very important because once you get line astern, it's very difficult to make that move unless somebody makes a mistake. But they will certainly all be trying.
They will be trying their damnedest to get one up on the other. But also, we wanted to have a brief talk about the forthcoming 12-hour Nurburgring charity event, which is sponsoring, which is going to be raising money for Mind, who have been helping with regards to mental health awareness for the last 60 years. We've also heard that we're going to have a very interesting entry via Kuno Simulazioni for the event itself. It's Aristoteles Vasilikos, I hope I've got his name right, who's actually the person responsible for the great physics you see in Assetto Corsa Competizione, is teaming up to race in the GT4 class Porsche Cayman car number 42. And that's really good to have Aris on board for that as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. He's teaming up with some of the Simsport drivers and driving with the community, so it's great news.
Well, let's have a look at the video ahead of the Nurburgring 12 Hours on October 3rd this year. So, Steve, I hear some great news coming out of the 12 Hours of Nurburgring. Give us an update on the entries and how much money's been raised so far.
Yeah, we're the entry list is well over half full at the moment. I think just off the top of the head, we're looking at we've got 7 more slots for GT3 cars and around about 10 more slots for GT4s, and that will give us the full complement of 50 cars on the grid on the day. And money raised at the moment it's over £700 already. So with over a month to go, that's awesome.
That's brilliant news. Also, some other partners that have teamed up with Simsport Racing Simrigs have joined as an official race sponsor. Next Level Racing and also the Virtual Reality Racing Club have also joined forces with us on this, and that's really, really great to hear about that. So if you want to have an entry spot on the 12-hour Nürburgring event, head to simsport-racing.com and there is a dedicated 12-hour Nürburgring side of things. But we are about to get things underway. 2 sprint races here at Circuit Zolder in Limburg in Belgium, and your starting grid will consist of the following drivers as we wait for them to go around this fantastic circuit. Very tight, very technical. It's going to be a tall order for all 24 drivers, and Archie Clifford-Roberts will start on pole position, as now the championship leader looks to try and get away with things, I think, in the early start of the second half of the season, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, obviously he had his dropped Monza as his drop round last time out, so he's had a month off almost, and he's going to be looking to come back with. He'll be expecting a couple of wins this evening, or that's certainly what he'll be working towards. Just a quick mention for Lily Robertson on YouTube. She says, "Go Dad." That's for Aaron Walker. So I'm sure Aaron will try to please Lily this evening with at least a podium. Maybe he'll be trying his best. Knowing Aaron, he'll be going for the win, but that'll be a tall order, I think, against Archie tonight. He's been in the 26s in the practice sessions.
Well, considering he's our inaugural ACC GT4 Season 1 champion as well, I wouldn't expect anything less from that man. So it's going to be an interesting one. It is an Audi top 5 with Archie Clifford-Roberts on pole, Stephen Haley in the 24 alongside. Then it's Dave Hedges and Aaron Walker in the 88 and the 99. Chris Pinchbeck in the 43. Chris Crossman in the 3 Porsche, Regan Mitchell in the 69 Mercedes. Then it is James Hartnell, our round 5 winner from Monza, in the 168 Tempesta Racing Ferrari. Lukas Kakosch in the Lamborghini from Bartwell Motorsport in the number 13. We'll have the Aston Martin from Oman TF Sport in the 626 alongside. As now, local time 3:07 p.m. Track temperature 27 degrees Celsius, air temperature 19 degrees Celsius, and it looks like a northeasterly wind of around about 14 kph. As the drivers now will filter into the 2x2 rolling start formation, as they're now going to head to what they call Jackie X-Bocht, named after the 6-time Le Mans winner, the man originally called Mr. Le Mans before Tom Christensen took that with 9 wins at Circuit de la Sarthe. But who's counting?
Yeah,
so they come.
These guys will be watching for their race positions now. We've had a couple of drive-throughs issued in previous races for cars being out of position. So
yeah, they've got to watch their P's and Q's here. So Clifford, Roberts and Haley will control the pace, and then Hedges and Walker. Look at this. This is great. This is the editors versus Totsuyama on the 2 front rows, it looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, 30 minutes are green, 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 and we look to get away nice and clean. It looks like Lukas Karkos going onto the marbles very quickly round the outside of, looks like Regan Mitchell, as it is a 2x2 double front row, but Archie Clifford-Roberts trying to get the advantage over Stephen Haley, going into Selmwachbocht and then into Kanalbocht before the last of the triple rights through Lucien Bianchi-Bocht. So good start there by Archie Clifford-Roberts, but Stephen Haley wasn't that far behind, was he, Steve?
It wasn't. He was really pressing there, and he was.
Audi in the wall, and there's looks like Bliv AK's gone off, and we've also had Joao Diaz, I believe, that's gone spiralling off of the exit of Lucien Bianchi-Bocht on the very first lap. Sorry to cut across you there, mate, but at the end of it all, there was a lot of action happening behind the main part of the field.
No, if it's going on, Alex, it's going on, and we need to make people aware of it. But Steve was really pressing, and he was, he was just caution. I think that, he was going to get squeezed on the inside, so he had to let Archie go there. Really, but excellent start from these front guys. Hedges in third place, Walker in fourth, Crossman fifth, Pinchbeck made a good start in sixth, James Hartnell seventh, Kakos eighth, Regan Mitchell ninth, and Mr. Pilkington rounding out the top 10. So those guys will be going for it now.
Yeah, it was mistake there from Steve Haley. That's allowed Dave Hedges and Aaron Walker to get past, and that was through the final chicane at Jackie Ixbocht, as Chris Crossman now finds himself passed into fourth place ahead of Steve Haley. Chris Pinchbeck rounding out the top 6. Regan Mitchell started 6th, now drops down to 9th place as we go on to lap number 2. But Dave Hedges looking to keep Aaron Walker at bay, and we know. Now let's have a look at this replay here. So here's Bliv AK. You've got Rich Smith on the inside. You've then got one of the Audis on the inside. And Bliv AK just gets speared off into the barriers. A little bit of excess contact there. But it was a case of, I'm not too sure how it would be classed by race control on that one. But that was definitely a moment that Bliv AK definitely does want to come back from. And he's right down at the bottom of the order as a result of that incident.
Yeah, it's definitely one the stewards will look at in the GT4s. I believe that corner we had a few incidents, difficult to run 2x2 through there. Let's just look at it once more.
And it was the 32, it looks like, that was on the inside, and also hits the barriers. So 2 drivers not having the great run of luck in the first couple of laps as Chris Crossman, straight lines off in the Porsche, and that means that he drops all the way down. He's dropping quickly out of the top 10. I think that's going to drop into round about sort of 12th, 13th place, as that would have been going into Boulderberg Bocht, which is literally the after that long drag from Terlamen.
We now have the editors who are leading the championship in first and second, and Steve Haley and Aaron Walker, who are battling for the team championship, are now both in third and fourth. So this is the team battle. Yeah,
because the editors running under the Team WRT liveries. As Adam Isalovic going up in the inside of Bliv AK. Clatters in and spins himself around as a result. Adam Isalovic, who won the final race of season 1 for GT4s last week, earlier on this week, on Wednesday thereof, at Zolder, from lights out to checkered flag, having a great battle all the way through. But Aaron Walker trying to close up on Dave Hedges. He's about 1.7 seconds adrift. But as you say, the team game now coming into the 4 as Stephen Haley rounds out the top 4 positions. Chris Pinchbeck in 5th. James Hartnell looking to close the gap on Archie Clifford Roberts in terms of the overall drivers' standings. He's currently in 6th place. And Chris Crossman drops down to 12th position after that straight line faux pas.
Yeah, I think just obviously maybe unsighted on the braking markers. We look at another replay.
Yeah, again, this time it's Bliv AK on. Turns around the 32. That looks to be in the Villeneuve chicane, I believe. I don't think one good turn deserves another there, does it really?
No, I'm just wondering what some of these guys are using for brake pads. There's a couple of them just outbraking themselves completely, really, and just the results aren't what we're wanting. But the front boys are keeping it relatively clean. Chris Crossman's dropped back, obviously. He didn't take anybody out in his incident, so he'll be trying to fight his way back up through the field, which is not going to be easy because obviously all these guys are quick and they're all in the top 10 for a reason. I see James Hartnell's really pressing Chris Pinchbeck, but that won't faze Chris. He's used to driving under pressure and he can soak it up all day long. So let's see what he can do. He'll be trying to close up behind Steve Haley if he can.
Yeah, well, Dave Hedges currently in 2nd position as we go on board with Chris Pinchbeck running in the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT colours. The white, black and bright fluorescent green. A very nice livery on that Audi, I must admit. He's being hustled, as you say, by James Hartnell, who in the Tempesta Ferrari in the 168, not too far behind, as they're coming towards the far part of the circuit through Terlamen down to Boltberg, and then they'll go through the slight left-right kink chicane through Jochen-Rindt-Bocht before they go to the final chicane named after Jackie X. You could just see how powerful these Audis are around here. Far cry from what we saw at Monza a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget James Hartnell. He's coming off the back of a win at Monza, and there's nothing like a race win to give you a bit more ambition and determination. And he's certainly got some talent, so he'll be really chasing Chris to try and capitalise on some points tonight.
Yeah, you can see the team strategy sort of starting to work as Aaron Walker lets Steve Haley get past there for position, and that's up to third goes the number 24, but goes a bit wide. And up the inside goes Aaron Walker to retake third place. Oh, don't hit your teammate, whatever you do. Oh, my goodness me.
Yeah, that was just a little bit unlucky, as you said. I think that was just team orders. Obviously, Steve was maybe just showing a bit more pace, so Aaron was doing the team thing and letting him through, but then that maybe just got... Oh, as we see Chris putting Aaron under pressure now, I believe.
Oh, and then James Hartnell getting close to the party as well. So it's all concertina and going through Sacrament Shelling, down the dip into Buta before the right-left at the Villeneuve chicane.
So the team orders nearly cost them another position there, but I'm sure now Aaron will try and get away from Chris again, soak up a bit of pressure as James is still applying that pressure on the back of Chris.
Yeah, looks like the Lamborghini of Lukas Kakos definitely getting well and truly stuck in. Regan Mitchell looks to be on the comeback trail. Aaron Martin Pilkington now up into ninth ahead of the Bentley of Gavin Utley. And then you've got Chris Crossman not too far behind the number 14 Bentley as well, as we see the likes of Gianluca De Luca. There's Mark Neutelings coming through the shot there in 18th position as well. We've had a turnaround there. That was one of the Ferraris. Now, was that Ranjith Kelsey? And it looks like the Gianluca De Luca Aston Martin 135 might have been involved.
Yeah, that was definitely Ranjith Kelsey. And the done the gentlemanly thing and let Ranjith back through, so good sportsmanship there.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got two drivers in the pits, and it was Robar in the 32 that had those comings together earlier on. Looks like Rich Smith in the 76 Lexus also out of proceedings, as looks like Dean Riley has just got past the car guy 86 Ferrari of Jeffrey Wolf in the 86. So good move there by Dean Riley. Not had the best of run of luck in the first half of the season as Dean Riley, but he has shown good pace nevertheless.
Yeah, the guys are putting the hours in, putting the practice in, and Dean's another new member to Simsport for this season, so he's another one showing great improvement as the races tick by.
Yeah, we've also got Reese Wiggin there trying to close down on Mark Neutelings, who's running in the... one of the cones gets flown unceremoniously to the left-hand side. Looks like that might have been from Dean Riley, but again, the Bentley showing good pace. Even on a short, tight technical circuit like Zolder. Mark Neutelings has run in the top 10 throughout the majority of the first half of the season, but again, another driver that hasn't had the run of luck, as Aaron Walker now still acting as rear gunner, so to speak, for Steve Haley in what's third place.
Yeah, Aaron's just gapping Chris Pinchbeck slightly. He's just doing enough to keep the pressure off himself, and as you say, he's acting as rear gunner to Steve Haley, who will be trying frantically to close down on Dave Hedges.
Yeah, the gap now down to just over 1.5 seconds between Haley and Hedges at the moment, with Clifford Roberts. I think he's just shot off into the distance and decided, yeah, this could be 25 points to the bag, and he's got a lead of 6 seconds over the 88, his teammate Dave Hedges at the moment, as we're fast approaching the third of this race completed.
Yeah, another good battle here with Lucas Kakos and Regan Mitchell in the Mercedes, which is another strongish car around here, and then obviously followed by Mr. Pilkington chasing them up, as we see. Is that Rich Smith?
Oh, that's one of the Jaguars hitting him from behind. Oh, now, who was that? I couldn't pick out who that was. I'm not too sure. Was that Pixley? Oh, that was... Yeah, so that was Daniel Parker that... had nowhere to go as Rich Smith pulled out in front of him, and I think that's the heftiest wallop we've seen of someone trying to rejoin the track in any race so far this season.
Yeah, it's a case of mirror signal manoeuvre gone wrong, is that one, I'm afraid. It's the car rejoining that's usually held responsible.
Where's the signal on that one, Rich Smith, I need to ask you? I'm sure that the stewards will definitely be looking at that one after the race, but 19 minutes and 40 seconds still to go. Yellow flags out again, ever so briefly here at Zolder, as Regan Mitchell looking to close up on Lukas Kakos. The gap just around about 0.4 of a second as they cross the line. Looks to be truncated slightly, not quite, but despite that, Aaron Martin Pilkington, I must be honest here, Steve, is really doing quite well to keep in front of them, as there's going to be more dramas here. Oh, now that's the number 2 of Dean Riley. There's Joel Diaz. There's this is what happened earlier. Gianluca De Luca turned around Ranjiv Kelsey, and Dean Riley and Joel Diaz had to avoid. So lucky enough, they were able to have quick cat-like reflexes to get past those two that were quite literally at each other's door panels.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost the slowest part of the track, so thankfully they were at a speed where they could maybe just take that evading action. As we're watching Lucas now with Regan still riding close behind, and Aaron just up behind him as well. James Hartnell still applying the pressure to Chris Pinchbeck, who, it has to be said, is still soaking it up. Two great guys there who put a lot of hours in. Right,
okay. Here's Bliv AK in the 747 Nissan as, he gets turned around good and proper through the Villeneuve chicane by Dean Riley in the number 2. So that was another unfortunate incident there, another one that will be investigated through the Simsport Racing stewarding process post-race. But still, like you say, at the top, James Hartnell has got the motivation to really push on and try and get some good laps in. And when you think about it, he's been running in a 1 minute 28.533. I mean, Archie Clifford Roberts is just absolutely screaming away with this. He's like the Cheshire Cat that's got the cream, lead of 7.2 seconds. Steve Haley's closed the gap by 0.6 to Dave Hedges, so it's just under a second between the pair. So that's really heating up in the team battle sort of thing in terms of the standings there.
Yeah, Steve will be keen to put the pass on Dave if he can, but as we know, Dave's a talented driver himself and he won't be easily passed. Not an easy track to pass, but with 17 minutes to go, anything's possible with these guys.
So at the moment, Archie Clifford Roberts leading by nearly 7.5 seconds ahead of Dave Hedges, Stephen Haley in 3rd, Aaron Walker in 4th, Christopher Pinchbeck in 5th ahead of James Hartnell, Lukasz Karkos, Regan Mitchell, Aaron Martin Pilkington and Richard Pixley running out the top 10. Great onboard shot on the back, just underneath the rear wing of the Audi Sport Team WRT liveried the editor's car for Dave Hedges, but look how close Steve Haley is getting in the braking zone, but he makes a little bit of I think he outbraked himself there, just going through that corner, and that would have been through Boldberg as they headed through Jochen Rindt. As another turnaround, this time, Regan Mitchell, and that's Aaron Martin Pilkington. I think, did they just come to blows?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. Somebody got turned around there. Like you say, and Regan Mitchell's come off worst. He's lost positions through that, so be interesting to see a replay of that one.
Yeah, I mean, Lukasz Karkos was just up ahead. Looks like we're going to get that replay. Yeah, Martin Pilkington just absolutely spears into the back of the Mercedes and turns it around. But nice control there by Regan Mitchell to keep ahead of Aaron Martin Pilkington after that. So Aaron did the sporting thing and let Regan pass because he knew, well, I've done a bit of a mistake there. Sorry, buddy. I'll let you go ahead. And that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, we're all here for fun, and you've got to punish people if they're going to ram somebody like that, although it was accidental. Give the position back.
Okay, here's Gavin Utley and Chris Crossman. Now Gavin Utley started losing control before even there was and that was the slightest glance on the back of that Bentley from the Porsche. But Gavin Utley, I think, had already lost control before Chris had actually tagged him there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch the replay on that one, because obviously if he's lost control and started to slide, then he will have started to slow down, which will have caught Chris Crossman out, and he had probably nowhere to go on that one. So yeah, as we can see, Dave Hedges and Steve Haley now really going for it.
Okay, Mark Neuting's closing on Jeffrey Wolf this time. Reese Wiggin, tanks the back of the 666 Bentley, and that's through the Villeneuve chicane, and then gets a dose of his own medicine. I think that was Ranjiv Kelsey in the 47 Ferrari there. So Neutings gets a tag from Kelsey, who then gets a tag from behind in the same spot at the Villeneuve chicane. By it's just like one good turn again does not deserve another, and 3 drivers compromised themselves by having a bit of argy-bargy there, unintentional I might add, as we're now halfway through this first of 2 30-minute sprint races here at Zolder, with Dave Hedges increasingly coming under pressure from Stephen Haley there.
Yeah, and running wide like that will not help Dave Hedges. When you run onto that sand there on the left-hand side as you come out that corner, it really saps the speed out of the car as Dave really attacks those curves again, trying to keep the run up the hill. But you can see Steve's just letting him know he's there. He's pressuring him and trying to intimidate him a little bit, and he's as close as he's ever been.
Yeah, and he's got those LED headlights ablaze on the front of that Audi R8. So it's sort of like the Cole Trickle sort of remember me from Days of Thunder sort of moment as we go on board with Steve Haley. And that's how close he's getting. This is actually on the front valance of the car, the front splitter of the car. Some great angles here, courtesy of Mike Yao from Simply Race. A fantastic job that Simply Race have done throughout this season. Blue flags being waved, so there will be a back marker up ahead. As now the battle for second quite clearly on, as the back marker could possibly get in the way. That could be Bess in the 100. Both drivers get past as they power down the start-finish straight into Ayrster.
I think when Steve Haley watches this replay, he'll say, well, I could have got a bit closer than that, Alex. I wasn't quite up against his back bumper, but he's certainly trying.
Well, he's getting his world's worth of screen time at the moment, isn't he? Being in third place. But look at this camera angle is just absolutely captivating because you can see all the different lines that both drivers are taking through into Canal and then through into Lucien Bianchi. And just how planted these Audis are. These cars are absolutely running away with it at the moment. And Archie Clifford Roberts' lead over Dave Hedges is now 9.6 seconds as he's having to battle tooth and nail with Stephen Haley as they've just gone through the Kleine Chicane, through Sacrament Schelling, down into Buta, now the right left at Villeneuve before the right at Terlamen. Just sense that Steve Haley is just not trying to make mistakes. And he's waiting for Dave Hedges to have a bit of a moment, but Hedges not giving any quarter whatsoever. This is flat out racing in GT3s at its finest here at Simsport Racing.
Yeah, Steve's picking his lines. He's allowing himself, shall we say, the safer line to allow him to brake on the straight rather than having any input on the wheel. He's really pressuring Dave, and he's trying to push Dave into that mistake, to lose that traction or to run wide somewhere just to allow him to get the run on him. And he's, as you say, he's running very, very close. And this camera angle is awesome because you can almost see every single steering input, the corrections, everything as it jinks left and right as he comes out the corners. Like you say, awesome work from Mike, our producer.
Yeah, as they've just gone through Ayrster into the right at Sedenwacht. But yeah, that gap is getting closer and closer by the second. It's now really tight there through Canal. And yeah, Hedges is sort of like thinking, oh no, headlights ablaze on the front of Haley's car. I'm in trouble right about now. And look how close Haley is in the slipstream as they head down to the Kleine Chicane. And again, that's Stephen Haley's way of saying, hi Dave, I'm here.
Yeah, he's just trying to distract him in the braking zone. But if you watch here, Steve takes a wider line into this braking zone, which allows him to brake in a straighter line and probably brake that split second later. But he really gets Dave under pressure under this point here.
Yeah, we now go on board, back on board, a different camera angle this time on the number 24 Hitotsuyama Audi R8 LMS Evo GT3 with Steve Haley still putting the pressure on. But the biggest thing is that Dave Hedges is not holding back. He is giving everything. He's giving not 100%, but I think 110 or 115% during this race as they come through the Jackie X chicane across towards the start-finish line. Fast approaching 10 minutes to go. Haley still battling away with Hedges for second position. But what this has allowed is that Aaron Walker is closing. And I'm looking at the lap time, Steve. It was a 1 minute 29.001 for Dave Hedges, a 1 minute 29.008088 for Steve Haley. Last lap around, Aaron Walker was quite clearly the quickest out of the remaining three of the top four with a 1 minute 28.461. And I think that Aaron senses that a possibility of a second or a third could be on the cards depending on what happens in front. As look at Steve Haley. He's just toying with Dave Hedges right now, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if he gets in front of Dave, and it's a big if, he obviously, I think he's got the speed on Dave. But what Aaron's ready for there is that if Steve forces the mistake from Dave, then Aaron may capitalise at the same time, and Dave might find himself dropping two places, in one or two corners.
Yeah, we have seen that before all the way through the first 5 rounds of the season. But still, Hedges not giving up, and he's not holding back either. I mean, he's defending like crazy because this is allowing teammate Archie Clifford Roberts in the 96 Audi a gap of now 11.7 seconds as we go into the last 9 minutes and 23 to go on the clock. They've got, looks like Joao Diaz just up ahead, and we've had a drive-through given to Ranjiv Kalsi for track limits, so he'll have 3 laps to serve that. As out of the way goes the number 12 of Chris Bowman. That front end of that Ram Racing liveried Mercedes looking rather second-hand, because that gap is definitely a bit bigger than what it would have come out of the Affalterbach factory there.
I think the key word there was Ram. Yeah, definitely. But I think I'm just wondering, Steve Haley, how many times?
He got sideways there, completely sideways. He's. I don't know whether he's. If he's cooked those tyres too early, Aaron Walker will now probably be saying to him, "Dave, you're holding me up."
No,
mate,
that boy's trying. He's trying. He hasn't cooked his tyres. I will put some money on. I'm not saying he's going to get past Dave, but he will be back up behind him and pressuring. He's the man. But I was going to say, I wonder how many times he's cursed himself during this race for letting Dave past with that early mistake at the beginning of the race, because obviously, you know, he's definitely got the pace and he could have been in a very safe second, and who knows, he could have been chasing Archie down.
Yeah, well, no one's going to chase Archie down with the gap he's got now with just over 8 minutes remaining. And we go on board inside the front windscreen with Stephen Haley, and you can see Aaron Walker just behind in the rearview mirror, closing up under the braking. And
Aaron's flashing those lights. I think he's trying to let Steve know that, look, come on, buddy, I think I actually might be a bit quicker than you now. You've had your chance, let me have a go.
I was going to say, I might hear Rob Smedley saying, Steve, Aaron is faster than you. Imagine if that happened. Wouldn't that be one for the books?
The trouble is, these guys don't have team managers. They sort it out between themselves. So, I think it's party mode, as Mercedes would say.
Yeah, but that's during qualifying, not during a race situation.
No, I believe I heard it at Spa today when the safety car came off. It came over the team radio for Mercedes that it was party mode. You're free to fight.
Oh, what Strat 2? Well, but yeah, again, you're completely spot on with your observations there, Steve, because Stephen Haley is trying to close up the gap, but Aaron, I'm just looking in at the lap times. Aaron Walker, well, look, last lap around, Aaron was actually slower than Steve, but obviously when he's putting the headlights on and trying to say to Steve, look, mate, come on, get out of the way, I need to get past, I'm picking up some speed here, but at the end of it all, yeah, the team orders game needs to sort of have some sort of solidarity there. And now, again, look, through the Jochen Rindt chicane, Stephen Haley closing on the back bumper of Dave Hedges yet again with 6.5 minutes to go with this first of 2 30-minute sprint races. So, yeah, you were spot on there, Steve, with Mr. Haley, as we now go on board on the, that's the right rear. Well, these camera angles seem to get better and better. Look how close they're getting to the wall going into ours. That's crazy.
Yep, you've got to use all the track, and I think he knows which camera Mike's streaming from. He's just trying to knock it off the side there. But there'll be a virtual invoice in the post. Payment in Mars bars, okay?
Sideways from Haley there. Completely sideways, and that is going to allow Aaron Walker to get the run on him, and the change has happened. Yeah, you were right. Haley was pushing like crazy, and then Walker just saw the opportunity. Haley went completely sideways through the Lucien Bianchi bocht, and complete opposite lock, but well held by Steve Haley.
Absolutely, I think that was just team orders coming into play, and Steve wanted to make it look exciting. So,
he wanted to get his 5 cents worth, didn't he?
Just had a mention from Glenn Speed, who's currently in Thailand. Says he can't wait to get back to the US and join us. And he's just commented on the great racing tonight, guys. Keep it up.
Well, that's really good to hear. Glad you're enjoying the show over in Asia. Lovely part of the world, Thailand. I've been there myself actually late April last year for a week away, and then quickly had to come back down to earth with the bump, and then I ended up commentating in Belgium. I covered 11,000 kilometres in 26 hours. Don't ask me about the journey. I'll tell you another time. But Aaron Walker now, he's now putting the blinkers on, as now Dave Hedges sees a different, well, he'll see the same livery, but he'll see a different number behind him, because he'll be thinking, Right, now I've had to deal with Steve Haley. Now I've got Aaron Walker breathing down my neck.
Well, I'm just wondering if the team orders apply between the brother-in-laws now that it's Aaron and Dave battling. So let's see what happens there.
Well, I'm going to say one thing. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war, because it doesn't matter whether it's brother-in-law and brother-in-law. If you're out on circuit, it's every driver for themselves. I will be completely honest here.
Yeah, I have to say I think Aaron and Steve have both got the legs on Dave, but Dave's doing an absolutely awesome job of defending. Just got a quick message from Daniel Parker. Hey guys, me and Mr. Smith think it's both our faults, so I'm guessing they're referring back to one of the incidents that we saw earlier on. Daniel also says party mode isn't a thing after today, I think, which is quite right. It's been taken away from Formula 1 after today, but what I will say is party mode's always a thing at Simsport Racing.
That's what that's brilliantly timed there, Daniel Parker. I doff my cap to thee, sir. That's a great comment. I think it's the best one of the night so far. Regan Mitchell still battling away with Łukasz Karkos for 7th position. And these two have been battling all the way through the race so far, as we're fast approaching the last 3 or so minutes before we find out who wins, as Archie Clifford Roberts is now on lap number 19, and his advantage over Dave Hedges is now further extended to 13.6 seconds, and it's just climbing. I mean, I'm having a look at the lap times. Archie is about, what, 0.6 of a second quicker per lap than Dave Hedges, and that's how he's able to eke out the gap. But because of the fact he's not having to battle with anybody, he's not under pressure, he can calmly use the tyres to his best advantage, as Regan Mitchell tries to look up the inside of Łukasz Karkos there. Nearly got the move done, did the 69 Mercedes, as the Lamborghini really coming under the kibosh now. Regan Mitchell looking towards the inside yet again, but Karkos shuts the door. Nicely done there by the number 13 Lamborghini.
Yeah, Regan's done a fantastic job, considering he had that spin a few laps ago to get back on the tail end of Lucas, and he's dropped Mr. Pilkington off so he can concentrate on that battle. Yeah,
by about 4.3 seconds at the moment as things stand, as on the top left corner of your screens at home, Mark Neutling's keeping Gianluca De Luca at bay in the 135R Motorsport Aston Martin. But yeah, it's getting very, very close between Karkos and Mitchell in the battle for 7th position. I think this one will go... Oh, now that was a bit of a run wide there from Regan Mitchell. That lost him a little bit of time there, but he kept the throttle fully planted there, didn't he?
He did, absolutely, yeah. Full commitment and full control, really. He's, like I say, he's doing an awesome job, and as we've seen in other races with Regan, he never gives up, and he's got the speed. He just needs to apply the pass when he can, if Lucas gives him the opportunity.
Yeah, I've just seen that the gap has slightly dissipated between Archie Clifford Roberts and Dave Hedges. It was about 13.3 seconds as we're now on to lap number 19 of this race. So I think probably the next time around, as Steve Haley is in the pits. That's a bit of a big development there, isn't it? That's possibly for track limits, isn't it?
No, that looks like that's not a drive-through, I don't think. Interestingly, I'm wondering if he's gone off at the chicane and had a lot of damage and had to retire back to the pits. Be interesting to see, but yeah, I don't think that'd be a drive-through, because I didn't see anything pop up. Yeah, I think he's maybe had an off and parked it. Too much damage, maybe.
Oh, Regan Mitchell, goes off at the chicane there and goes sideways, as Łukasz Karkos now will take 6th position, but yeah, Regan Mitchell, that was lucky for Regan, wasn't it?
That chicane does not take any prisoners, and Regan obviously knew he'd missed the braking point, so he tried to do the sensible thing and straight line it, but got caught in the sand. Did really well to control that and not hit the wall.
Yeah, looks like Dean Riley is also pitted in 21st position, along with Robar, Smith and Parker. So Steve Haley will finish a little bit further down the order here at Zolder. And final lap it is for the leader, Archie Clifford Roberts in the 96 Audi. And there he is. He's definitely done a fantastic job, decided to give Monza a miss and came firing back with all cylinders of that Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo. So he's now on the 21st and final lap. He's just gone through the Kleine Chicane for the final time through Sacrament, Schelling down the hill into Butte and then into the Villeneuve chicane before heading into Terlamen, which is actually what the circuit used to be called, Circuit Terlamen, before it changed to Circuit Zolder, as Ranjiv Kelsey again gets another drive-through for track limits. Second one of the evening for Ranjiv Kelsey. So time has now hit 0.
I've just had a message from Steve Haley. He's run out of fuel, so he's out of fuel. He's had to retire. So that's a schoolboy error from Mr. Haley there. I think he needs a new calculator, but we'll sort that out.
I think he needs a new fuel flow meter as well, by the sounds of things. As now, round the final corner comes Archie Clifford Roberts, and now takes a maximum 25-point score here at Zolder to win the first of 2 races here this evening in Belgium, as Aaron Walker is going to be finishing just behind Dave Hedges as one of the Audis just gets out of the way. That might have been best in the 100. As now, great run by Dave Hedges, keeps Aaron Walker at bay by just over 0.4 of a second. Chris Pinchbeck,
awesome drive.
And what a drive from Chris Pinchbeck, let's be honest here, Steve. 4th place, it's an Audi top 4 lockout. James Hartnell will cross the line in 5th ahead of Lukas Kakos. So 4 Audis followed by a Ferrari, a Lamborghini. They'll then have Regan Mitchell crossing the line very, very shortly. There's Chris Bowman in the forlorn Ram Racing Mercedes, and it looks like, well, Ranjiv Kalsi gets an automatic 30-second time penalty added because of it being so close to the end of the race. But Regan Mitchell takes 7th, Chris Crossman takes 8th ahead of Joao Diaz in the 26. Now, that's something we didn't really talk about much in the race, ahead of Gavin Utley in the 14. Richard Pixley in the number 7 Jaguar takes 11th ahead of Jeffrey Wolf. Aaron Martin Pilkington, I'm just wondering where he will finish up. Looks like it's going to be 14th place, possibly, as Adam Isolovic takes 13th in the 111 Ferrari. Reese Wiggin in 18th, Ranjiv Kalsi 19th. Bez in the number 100 Audi will take 22nd. So Neitelings takes 14th, and Bliv AK in the 747 Nissan GTR GT3 rounds out the top 15. But Steve, crazy first race, apart from the fact that Archie Clifford Roberts just ran away with that one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Archie, he does his thing. He had a great qualifying, put it on pole position, kept it together for the first few corners, and then Steve made that bit of a mistake running wide, and Archie got maybe a second or 2 gap, and once he'd got second, he was gone. He just does the laps, he puts the laps in, he doesn't really have any issues. The poor lad doesn't get any airtime because he just doesn't do anything wrong, and he creates that gap. And yeah, I think for me, the driver of that race, or one of the drivers of that race, was Dave Hedges. He soaked the pressure up from Steve and Aaron and brought it home in a fantastic second place. As you say, Chris Pinchbeck, awesome drive. Didn't see much of Chris, although he was under pressure from James, and I'm sure that lasted pretty much the whole race, but he soaked it up and he brought it home in a creditable 4th place, so well done, Chris.
Yep, so that looks to be the first ever of top 4 lockout by one particular brand, being the 4 Rings of Ingolstadt's finest, as we're going to hopefully speak to a couple of our top 3 finishes, I would imagine. I know that Arch doesn't like to be interviewed, which is completely fine, completely understandable. He just likes to get on and do his thing. But hopefully we'll speak to a couple of the drivers. But realistically, Steve, we've seen it in Misano, where the first race really, really got us amped up, and then the second race, all hell breaks loose, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the mistakes are out of the way. It has to be said there was a few silly mistakes from some of the drivers there with braking points and 2 cars trying to fit on the same piece of tarmac. That it's not good to see. They are driver errors, some of those. They're not just racing incidents, and it's time to reset and go again for the second race and not make those same mistakes twice, you know. So hopefully we'll see a bit more close racing without the incidents in the second one. And the lads have had chance to do the 30-minute run in that race one. You know, you would imagine Steve Haley, for example, will be putting a few more litres of fuel in his car. The lads will know how the tyres are going to behave for the full 30 minutes if they didn't already. And yeah, it's a full reset and off they go.
Well, it looks like we're not going to be speaking to any of the top 3 after that one, because it looks like we've gone straight into qualifying 2 for race 2 here at Zolder, and 8 minutes and 55 seconds still to go. But yeah, I'm going to be quite interested to see how the track evolves over the next sort of few moments, because Archie has come away with a win. He's looking to do the double, to get pole position in both races, get the win in both races, and extend his lead over James Hartnell. And this is where James Hartnell, now, he did admit post Monza, he said that I might struggle in the Ferrari at Zolder, and he was very matter of fact about that. But still, he managed to get a pretty credible result nevertheless.
Yeah, James is a very realistic, person. He knows his capabilities, the car's capabilities, and let's be honest, I mean, Archie is on some of these races, he's in a class of his own. That's fair to say. As I say, he just drives away with it. Some of the lads can try and hang on to him, but he does tend to get away. One driver we are missing this evening, Kev Critchley. He sometimes gives Archie a run for his money. So yeah, James is very realistic, and he knows where his battles lie, and sometimes that's the sensible thing, because mistakes are bred from pushing too hard sometimes.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is that to finish first you must finish, and that's exactly what Archie Clifford Roberts is doing. He's just making sure that he hits every apex, every braking point, and powering out of the corners absolutely flawlessly. Yeah,
I mean, he's awesome job. I mean, Steve Haley there not scoring points in that race, that will not do his championship any good whatsoever. With his teammate, he's battling first and foremost. Aaron Walker was only literally 1 point ahead of him, with Regan Mitchell, who was around about 30 points, I think, behind him. So Regan Mitchell with his finish will have closed upon Steve Haley. So yeah, and given Aaron Walker some breathing space in fourth place at the moment. So yeah, he's got to think about the whole championship. It's not just one race; it's 10 rounds.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, as they say. Absolutely. And that's the key point that we have to stress in this championship. It's not about where you finish; it's about how consistently you finish, and you keep moving forward. You learn from your mistakes. But then you always have the halcyon moments, like James Hartnell, who we see on screen at the moment, before we switch quickly to Ranjith Kelsey, the number 47 Ferrari 488 GT3. Hartnell had a great run at Monza and was quite literally able to run away with it, as Stephen Haley now goes provisional pole at the moment with 6 minutes 15 on the clock. Still to go, 1 minute 27.558. Chris Pinchbeck just over 0.2 of a second adrift. Then it's Dave Hedges running at an Audi top 3, and that is effectively 1.1 seconds adrift. But Regan Mitchell in the Mercedes, the number 69, goes to within 6 and a bit tenths of Steve Haley. And Archie Clifford Roberts, even though it might just say 8 seconds off of the pace in 14th position, but we know for a fact that he will be waiting in the wings, and he will strike at the right opportune moment when he knows that car is absolutely up to temperature. As I saw, I think that might have been Dean Riley going sideways through the Kleine Chicane.
Yeah, just take this opportunity. A couple more shout outs on YouTube. We've got AVD, a shout out for Steve Hinden. Steve created the livery for their team. They are taking part in the 12-hour charity race, so just to mention, that race is custom liveries as well, so anyone thinking of entering, you can have your own paint job, so to speak, on the cars. And also Gene Pinchbeck, well done Pinchy, great race, and Alex, awesome commentary.
Thank you very much, Gene. Appreciate it. It's always good to be a part of this, and really enjoying things, because it's been great racing all the way through. Obviously, yeah, as you said earlier, Steve, there have been some mistakes that do occur, especially when you got these double sprint race formats, because it's not easy. The drivers are having to change their driving styles dependent on the situation that presents itself, and especially when you look at it from a sprint race format and then going into a 90-minute race encounter, then you've got a 2-hour race encounter. Obviously with Spa-Francorchamps in 2 weeks' time, that's a 2-hour race. A very different kettle of fish altogether, and it's at one of the most iconic circuits in Belgium as well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, obviously, when you go to a 2-hour race, there is no reset, there is no second race. That is your one shot, and you've got to maybe just start with a little bit more caution. Although I say that tongue in cheek, so I know most of the lads do set off like it's a sprint race. But yeah, you do tend to find the lads settle into a bit more of a rhythm, and obviously we'll have a pit stop there, or at least one pit stop. Take as many as they want, but there'll be at least one pit stop each. So that throws a little bit of strategy into it. But yeah, it's good. When we set this season up, we made that decision to have a few different length races in there, just to throw a curveball, as it were, and just challenge the strategists amongst the drivers.
Well, it's a lot. It's effectively quite interesting at the top of the timesheets now, because Aaron Walker is within 60 thousandths of a second off of Archie Clifford Roberts. So the 96 might not have all his own way in qualifying, but we've seen that before, where Clifford Roberts has just put one in, gone straight to the top of the timesheets, and then someone's responded. Clifford Roberts has then responded and gone even quicker, and we found that out in qualifying one, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, as we said, it's difficult to sometimes it's difficult to get the space on a shorter track like this, and when you've only got 10 minutes to do it, you know, the response has got to be immediate, and these lads are up for the challenge, and they're doing it.
So there's Peter Robart in the Team Land Motorsport Audi Sport Audi R8. In the number 32, currently running out the top 25. Now, obviously, he is one of the newest drivers to join us. He was what we had an interesting message via the GT3 chat where he said, "I don't know if I'm going to make it on time. There's a flooded road up ahead, and I'm in my car." But nevertheless, he still managed to make it. So good on Peter for being able to join us here for both races at Zolder. And he's been through the wars as well this evening.
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of community racing. You get involved in these incidents. They all learn from the incidents, whoever's fault it was. We have the stewarding process. We do hand out penalties. The penalties are generally taken in good faith, and then they take them, they bounce back, and they learn from the mistakes. And that's what it's all about. So
at the moment, well, Stephen Haley has gone quicker than Archie Clifford Roberts by exactly 60 thousandths of a second. A 1 minute 27.192. I did say that Archie Clifford Roberts might not have it all his own way in this session, as we've got 1 minute and 45 on the clock still to go. It's really funny though, because the top three Audis, it's 60 thousandths between Haley and Clifford Roberts, then it's 60 thousandths between Clifford Roberts and Walker. I mean, how metronomic is that?
Well, you're just not going to get it much closer, are you? I mean, the guys are... It's good to see. I mean, I want to see, you know, as much as I like Archie, as much as he's a talented lad, you want to see someone beating him. You want to see someone take the challenge to him, and let's make a race for it. And if Steve can get pole position and get a clean start, then, you know, all the better for the racing.
There's Bliv AK just trying to get some track position as he now comes through the Jackie X bocht to start a hot lap. So 60 seconds on the clock still to go. Some drivers being able now, if they cross the line before the time expires and the checkered flag flies, then they will get an additional lap in, as there was I think there was an editor's car on the left-hand side of the start-finish straight there, just going through shot as we were on board with Bliv AK in the Sol Nissan GTR GT3, as he's now going through the first triple right-hander. So you got now into Lucien Bianchi corner, and then the short run down, a little adjustment there, up to fifth gear. And he's getting close to around about 235 kilometers an hour before he brakes for the Kleine Chicane, up the dip through Sacrament Schelling, as that looks to be possibly Dean Riley on the right-hand side that had an off in quali. Or was that James Hartnell? Not too sure. Well, James Hartnell has quickly jumped into the pits, so that might have been him. So he's all the way down in 10th position, and on a 1 minute 28.377, as the checkered flag now is out for qualifying. That is it. 10 minutes are over and done with. Some drivers now getting towards the final part of the circuit, as is Bliv AK now in the Nissan, as he's got one of the MF5 Jaguars just up ahead. Let's just see how he gets on. Will he improve? Because he's currently 10th at the moment in the Nissan. 1.131 seconds off of pole position. Let's see if he improves. He goes 8th, just under 8 tenths off of Steve Haley. So that was a good run there by Bliv AK in the 747.
Yeah, that looked a pretty smooth lap from Bliv. Well done, mate. That was clean. Chris Crossman down in 10th. That's probably not where he wanted to be, but I believe the rest of them, it was with a shuffle, a place either way. They were all pretty much as they were in the first race.
Yeah, so not that long until we get our second and final race underway here for effectively what's been a fantastic round 6 here at Zolder. But we're going to go to a brief break, and we'll take a brief look ahead to what's in store at Spa-Francorchamps on the 13th of September.
Never really saw you coming until you turned me around. Used to think I was nothing, but look at this love we found.
Well, it looks very interesting, doesn't it, at Spa-Francorchamps in just a couple of weeks' time, wouldn't you agree, Steve?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's what most drivers love the track. It's a long lap, 2 hours. A lot can happen, and I'm sure it'll be a great race. So let's hopefully we'll get a full grid of maybe 25, 30 cars if possible.
Yeah, just over 7 kilometres long, with such corners as Eau Rouge, Radillon, Pouhon, the Camel Straight, and also Les Combes as well to boot. But yeah, really looking forward to it. We're probably not that long away from getting going with our second and final race here. But Steve Haley puts one up on Archie Clifford Roberts in qualifying, and then Aaron Walker just the same distance between first and second as it is between second and third. You couldn't have called it like that, could you?
No, I mean, you can't call it, and it's a brave man that tries to call a 10-minute qualifying session, and especially with those lads up at the front who are pretty close together, in qualifying lap times and scenarios like that. But Steve's done he's come out of the pits and he's done an awesome job to put that time in there, and whether it's a second or a thousandth of a second, it's pole position. It doesn't matter what the margin is, it's just a pole position. So he'll be hoping to get that, to get a good run when the lights go green. He'll want to floor it and get away from Archie and just get in front, because we've seen how difficult it is to overtake on this track, and if he can get his car in front of Archie, Steve is not an easy man to pass, so he will make a good race of it. It will be exciting to watch, and obviously with Dave Hedges and Aaron Walker on the second row, that's going to be another close battle. So we could feasibly have 4 cars battling away, literally within a second of each other.
Yeah, we've got some exciting races coming up after Spa-Francorchamps in just 2 weeks' time. The 27th of September, we have a 1 hour encounter at Laguna Seca, WeatherTech Raceway. On the 27th of September, the 11th of October, a 90-minute race at the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, and Le Castellet. Paul Ricard rounds out the season with a 2-hour extravaganza in France, not too far off of Marseille, on the 25th of October. But also, Steve, GT4 Season 2 starts 9th of September, 6 races over 6 weeks. It's looking rather exciting there. And what's the situation with regards to the interest that we've had so far?
Yeah, the sign-ups have gone live, and the interest is good. We've believe it or not, the community keeps growing. We've got sign-ups coming in every hour at the moment. We've got quite a few signed up. I'm not quite sure how many, because as I say, it's growing all the time. But we have got some more new members joined us for that as well. So the community carries on growing, carries on picking up steam. And the GT4s are going to be big with the 45-minute races and the reverse grids.
Yep, keeping to the format. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's give you an idea of just what GT4 is all about here at Simsport Racing. Right, we're getting things underway for our second race of the evening here at Circuit Zolder in the Limburg region in Belgium, a lovely part of the world, a place that I called my second home, the Limburg region, in terms of European commentary, because of Karting Genk being not too far away from Circuit Zolder. So it is Steve Haley that is on pole position. Alongside will be Archie Clifford Roberts, looking to do the double here. Now, he did that at Misano a few weeks ago. Let's see if the 96 can double up once again this season. He is the man to beat so far. But what are the drivers, Steve, apart from the likes of Aaron Walker, Dave Hedges, Chris Pinchbeck, could we see that might provide a little bit of a fly in the ointment, if you will?
Don't forget Regan Mitchell, Lucas Kakos, Aaron Martin Pilkington. They're all up there in the right places, just behind these guys. Liv's up there in the Nissan, who's shown us in qualifying that he can put those smooth laps in, and I believe Liv, to be fair, has been sort of involved in a few incidents that maybe weren't all his fault. So if he gets a good run with these guys, then maybe he'll be able to hang on as well. So yeah, and then Chris Crossman's coming from, was he round about 10th, I believe. So with the top 10 is hotly contested, and any one of them could be a fly in the ointment, so to speak. Steve's just obviously coming round now, and they'll be going 2 by 2 very shortly, and it'll be just focusing, waiting for those green lights to come on and get away from Archie.
Yeah, very, very true. Temperature 19 degrees Celsius, track temperature 26 degrees Celsius. And it looks to be a bright, sunny afternoon here in Zolder for race 2. 30 minutes of full throttle GT3 action. Local time 3:07 p.m. according to the server. And again, Steve, the rolling start formation, incredibly crucial in GT3. And we have seen some drivers profit. Other drivers have been sort of a bit hung out to dry, if you will.
Yeah, it's just about timing. I mean, obviously, the anticipation for those green lights has got to be spot on. Too early, and you get a drive through. Too slow, and you get jumped. So Steve will be focused 100% now. He won't be looking in his mirrors. He'll be just focused on those lights on the screen, waiting for them to go green, and then he will absolutely floor it to try and get that inside line on that first corner to give him the advantage.
Right, so the run down to Erster begins now. Green lights on the starting gantry, and we are off and racing. And again, looks to be another great start from Lukasz Kakos up the inside of Aaron Martin Pilkington. And Archie Clifford Roberts again gets past Steve Haley into the lead as they head through into the very next corner, as Aaron Walker looking up the inside of Dave Hedges for P3. Does he get the move through? He does. And Chris Pinchbeck also looking to try and steal a march on the number 88, but Dave Hedges quickly on the counter-offensive through the very next corner. Now the short blast up to the Kleine Chicane, as there's a little bit of an argy-bargy bit further down the order. Bez in the 100 might have just had a little bit of a coming together there, as now they come through into the Kleine Chicane, up the Sacrament Schelling, down the dip into Buta, as look at Dave Hedges, he's having to battle with Chris Pinchbeck. Pinchbeck in the 43's got an absolute fly this time around.
Yeah, Chris will be tagging onto the back of Dave. Dave, when he was trying to put the move on Aaron or fight back against Aaron, he just compromised his own run out of the corner, which allowed Chris to just hang on to the back of him and put that challenge on him that we saw a couple of corners ago. But yeah, certainly it's all going to be hotting up here as Steve's really putting the pressure on Archie at the moment, and I'm hoping that that's going to be a race-long battle if he can hang on to it.
Yeah, I think I saw Adam Isolovic trying to move on Dean Riley in the number 2. Ferrari down for 19th position, as Isolovic looked very close in the braking zone, but Clifford Roberts not having all his own way like he had in race number 1, because right chasing him down is the number 24 of Stephen Haley, who hopefully will have put enough fuel in that Audi just to make sure that he gets to the end of the race without any sort of drawbacks at all. Let's have a look at this replay here. So you can then, so the Mercedes gets run a little bit wide there by the 100 Audi. So that would have been, I think, possibly the number 12 of Chris Bowman in the trenches yet again. But let's see if he comes back from that. But the lead is now just over half a second between Archie Clifford Roberts and Steve Haley in the battle for the lead as they go through the Kleine Chicane, as Haley goes bunny hopping over the second part of it, and you can just see how much suspension travel is happening with these cars. They're incredibly low to the ground, but even doing something like that could unsettle the back end at the moment's notice.
Yeah, I mean, these guys' setups are usually quite a closely guarded secret. Obviously, the teammates work on them together, but I do believe on this circuit they raise the ride height a little bit just to compensate for that chicane. Yeah,
so effectively the shock absorbers will work, as we now have a replay here. So Rich Smith. Now that was one of the Jaguars getting hit from behind. Looks to be, I think that might have been Ranjith Kelsey, and that could be Dan Parker that just got a hit from behind there in the number 6 Emil Fry Jaguar. So Dan Parker not having the best run of luck, unfortunately, in this race, like he did with Rich Smith doing the mirror signal manoeuvre last time out in race 1. So we'll see how Parker does proceed. I mean, he's currently down in 23rd place behind Mark Neuterlings. Let's have a look at this replay. Yep, it's the number 7 that gets a hit from behind, and that would have been Richard Pixley, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was. But I mean, I think obviously Ranj, there was a big speed difference there for whatever reason. Ranj was concentrating on trying to overtake the car to his left, and was obviously just totally didn't see Daniel at that point. But yeah, bad move.
Right, so the top 3 covered by around about just over 1.5 seconds. So Clifford Roberts now having to battle away with the two Audis of Steve Haley and also Aaron Walker. And Chris Pinchbeck is only 3.3 seconds behind this battle. And I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times here, Steve, that the top three have gone into the 127s. Here's the 626 of Aaron Martin Pilkington trying to go up the inside of Gavin Utley and turns him around.
Yeah, that was never going to work.
And Rich Smith has got nowhere to go and ends up clattering into him as well in this process. And I think Gianluca De Luca in the 135 Aston was just behind the 76 Lexus. So, yeah, not quite what Gavin Utley wanted. And I think Aaron Martin Pilkington will be investigated post-race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just on this battle up at the front, I do believe now, I mean, it doesn't look like it, but that's a gap for Archie. He's stretching it out, maybe by a couple of tenths here and there, but he's getting a gap now. So I think that's him making the breakaway, barring any mistakes, unfortunately. As
Chris Pinchbeck now is ahead of Dave Hedges in the battle for fourth position. You said about Regan Mitchell, the 69 Mercedes AMG GT3 starting to close on the number 88 Audi. It is a top 5 lockout for Ingolstadt's finest. But Afaltabach in the form of the Mercedes of Regan Mitchell looking to close and try and put the Mercedes cat amongst the Audi pigeons here at Zolder as they go through the Kleine Chicane, up the right hand kink through Sacrament Schelling, down the dip into Buta once again. Bliv AK looking to be on the back bumper of Lukas Kakos for 7th position as they head through into the Villeneuve chicane. And looks like Bliv AK, you said there were a couple of incidents that he had. We're going to go to another replay here. And here is Dean Riley, and there's Adam Isalovic. And I think that's Ranjiv Kalsi, yeah. And Dean Riley gets compromised. Oh, now that's an interesting development because I just spotted the 168 of James Hartnell. He was there as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be one for us to look at in the stewarding meeting tomorrow evening and issue our penalties where we see fit. But yeah, if that's James Hartnell, I'm just looking on the leaderboard and trying to see where he's dropped down to now.
Well, he's out. Yeah, he's outside of the top 20. Okay. Oh, it just absolutely kicks off here. Look. Oh, Jeffrey Wolf gets involved through no fault of his own, trying to avoid the Jaguar. So multiple drivers there completely compromised and has completely turned the order on its head. So, and one of the main beneficiaries, the number 32 of Peter Hrobar, is now up into 12th place. And he's only 7/10 of a second behind Gianluca De Luca. Here's Mark Neutelings as Aaron Martin Pilkington trying to get past Joel Diaz. And, then gets a tag from behind. That looks to be Chris Bowman in the number 12 that tagged Mark from behind there as Bliv AK quite clearly on the back bumper of the Lamborghini of Karkosh. So the number 13 Lamborghini coming under threat going into the Villeneuve chicane from the Nissan, and then just behind Chris Crossman. Good to see him back in the top 10.
Yeah, and I mean, I just want to say I called it at the beginning with Bliv. I mean, he's running the pace I would expect him to run. He's doing a good job in that Nissan. He's finally sussing out how the car works with the tunes. It's a new car to him this season. He's been putting a lot of effort into it, and it's good to see him running strongly, it has to be said, in the top 10, because he's not holding anybody up, and if anything, he's challenging, he's hanging on there, so he's doing a great job.
Yeah, just having a look at the lap times between him and Lucas. And Lucas did a 1:28.713. Bliv did a 1:28.920. But that Nissan looks to have consistent pace. And that's the key point around here at Zolder. You've got to have the consistent pace to just keep on pushing forward, not making any undue mistakes. As Aaron Martin Pilkington locks up going into the final chicane and nearly clatters into the back of Reese Wiggin there in the 667 Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720S. And Martin Pilkington coming under fire now from Joel Diaz, a far cry from where we would normally expect the 626.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Pilkington's out of position really in 17th there, and this is what happens when you find your faster drivers that have, for whatever reason, have dropped down the order a little bit, and they're coming up against some drivers that maybe they've got a good half a second to a second a lap on. It's all about racecraft at that point then, and trying to work your way through, because it's not just raw pace that will get you past all the time. Those guys are entitled to defend the line in front of you.
Yeah, it looks like James Hartnell has actually parked it in the 168, probably having suffered significant damage to the Ferrari after that massive coming together, multiple cars involved in that sort of respect. So it's that's a real shame for James Hartnell. He was battling in the top 10 in the first race, and now he's out of the race itself, and it's just not really where he wants to be. But he did say he was going to struggle here at Zolder.
He did, yeah, and like you say, it's unfortunate that he's suffered enough damage to put him out of the race, because obviously, you know, any points are good points, and he needs those points to keep him ahead up at the front, because it's going to be a tight battle at the front for those second, third, fourth, fifth places in the championship. That everything's up for grabs with a few rounds left to go. Still a lot of points on the table, so every point counts.
That is very much the case. We're on board now with Dean Riley, who's now up into 14th place in the number 2 Tempesta Racing Ferrari 488 GT3. So he's making some moves up the order, whereas his teammate is well and truly parked in the pits, as Peter Hrobar now closing on Gianluca De Luca, who has Rich Smith in the 76 Lexus, who's now in 10th position. Hrobar ducks towards the outside of De Luca going into the Kleine Schikane. The Aston Martin keeps ahead for the moment. Let's just see the closing rate here from Hrobar in the 32. Looks to be very close through into the Villeneuve chicane on the back bumper of the Aston Martin. Good run here by Peter Hrobar, not having a good run in the first race, but looks to have come a bit stronger in race 2.
Yeah, he's showing us what he can do. You know, as we said, he's new to the group, and he's putting in a good performance in race 2.
Right, looking at the gaps at the moment, Steve, Dave Hedges is just over 0.7 of a second off of Chris Pinchbeck, who with Hedges actually just over 5.5 tenths ahead of Regan Mitchell. Then you look back to Chris Crossman, less than half a second off of Bliv AK for 8th position. Then Hrobar, who we're on board with at the moment on the roof cam, above the front windscreen, just behind Gianluca De Luca. He gets the gap down to 0.3. And Hrobar did a 1 minute 29.832, and that was just over a tenth quicker than Gianluca De Luca.
Yeah, I mean the guys are consistent, aren't they? They're putting the lap times in. That they're they found the pace, and they're finding the battles. And it has to be said, there's a lot of close battles. It's good to see. It's a great track for it. It's difficult to pass, so yeah, patience is a virtue around Zolder.
Indeed, it is. Right, okay. We've got Rhys Wiggin there. There's Aaron Martin Pilkington, and right. So along with going straight on nigh on the chicane, there was a little tap on the back bumper of Rhys Wiggin by the Aston Martin, who is in now 16th position in the 626, and Wiggin is about 0.6 of a second adrift at the moment. But this is a really good battle here for what is effectively 10th on the road. And when you look at it here, Steve, they're covered by just over 1.5 seconds, but all three of them are just looking really consistent, well planted, braking nicely, turning in at the right point, and Gerard Diaz gets pinged for a drive-through for track limits abuse, unfortunately, so he will drop out of the top 18. As now Hrobar goes up the inside, side by side with Gianluca De Luca into the next chicane and makes the move. That's nice and cleanly done by the 32 Audi.
That was impressive. He must have got absolutely awesome drive out of the previous corner, because it wasn't really a slipstream. He just drove past him into the braking zone, got it stopped, got it turned, and had the job done before the apex.
That's what you want really in that kind of manoeuvrability situation, as Regan Mitchell still trying to close on Dave Hedges, who in turn is trying to close on Chris Pinchbeck, and these three are covered by just under 8.5 tenths of a second from front to rear bumper as they go through the Kleine Schikane, up the dip here through the Sacrament Schelling, down the dip into Butte, and then into the Villeneuve chicane. And Regan Mitchell really, really starting to come good in the towards the second half of this race.
Yeah, it might just give Chris Pinchbeck a little bit of a break from Dave Hedges if Regan can apply some pressure to Dave and make Dave watch his mirrors a little bit. But yeah, like you were saying earlier, there's some good close battles all over the place, and it doesn't matter whether you're battling for first, second, third, fourth, or 10th, 12th, 11th. You know, when you're on the track and you're in that battle, that's the battle that matters to you. So yeah, the drivers are putting on a real good show for us this evening.
Yeah, a lot cleaner. Not so many incidents as we had in race one, because obviously, as you said, post race one, a lot of mistakes have been gotten out of the way. So the drivers now have to just sort of keep their strategies keep their cards to their chest, so to speak, as Archie Clifford Roberts now, again, that gap has just literally expanded in the last, 5 to 10 minutes. It's up to 4.5 seconds between him and Aaron Walker as we go on board on the front splitter of Jeffrey Wolf in the Car Guy Racing 86 Ferrari, battling away with Ranjiv Kelsey. This is for the last position in the top 20, and just up ahead they've got the number 6 Jaguar of Daniel Parker.
Yeah, this is Ferrari on Ferrari, so it's down to driver ability at the moment and see what can be done.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wolf has shown some flashes of brilliance throughout this season, as he's finished a little bit further up within the top 20. But he's got a little bit of work to do, just coming up to the halfway point of this second and final sprint race here at Zolder before the 2-hour endurance race at Spa-Francorchamps in a couple of weeks' time. But you can just see how different the styles are between the Jaguar and the Ferrari. The Ferrari, will scream its way out of the corners, where you'll just hear the massive rumble of a Jaguar V8, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Ferrari it's a real screaming racing machine. I did a season in I think it was our first GT3 season. I was Steve Haley's teammate in the Ferrari, and absolutely awesome car to drive. And I think, not taking anything away from any of these guys, I found it so far to be the easiest car to, shall we say, to adapt to different tracks. As we see Wolf being overtaken there, is that Neutlings?
Yeah, that was Neutlings up the inside, so nice work there by the Dutch driver. In the Team Parker Racing livery, run by Scott Mulvin in British GT at this particular moment in time through 2020.
That's
so
Mark trying to get back up into the points there. He's obviously got himself up into 21st, points down to 20th place. So yeah, he's got everything to go for.
I do like some of these liveries on these cars. I mean, just look at the blue accents around the rear diffuser on that Bentley. I mean, that's just attention to detail. Very much like Tron Legacy, isn't it, that livery?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I mean, all the liveries, it has to be said, in this championship, we made the decision because we were going to broadcast it for realism. They're all chosen from within the sim. They're all real-world liveries, so, yeah.
Right, okay, so at the moment, Archie Clifford Roberts still leads. We are 14 minutes and 18 seconds still to go in the event, towards the eventual conclusion of round 6 here at Zolder. Dave Hedges still trying to keep in striking distance of Chris Pinchbeck, and they're now just over half a second adrift of each other. Regan Mitchell a further 8 tenths behind this battle, but it looks to be closing. The Mercedes looks to get a bit deeper on the brakes through the corners, as now they go through the Jochen Rindt as now they will go through into the Jackie X chicane.
Lucas Kakos is not that far behind, and Bliv AK hanging on in there as well, so any mistakes can be capitalised by those guys.
Yeah, especially depending on where one driver might decide to capitalise, then it causes all hell to break loose in the meantime. But then also Chris Crossman is in the background. Oh, mistake there through by Dave Hedges, and that could have really cost him big time if Regan Mitchell had been closer in that Mercedes to capitalise as they go onto the second of the triple right here at Zolder before they go onto the short blast up to the Kleine Chicane, turn 5 as Steve would normally call it.
Yeah, be interesting to see which one of these guys gets the chicane right, because like I say, you've got to be consistent, and it's difficult. You see Dave got a better run through there than Chris, and he's as I said, that poor run out of that corner. Now Dave's close right up on him now, but yeah, it's just so hard to get the move done.
Yeah, especially when you after that sort of closing speed, that you then got to quickly put on the brakes and go through the Villeneuve chicane as they now head towards the far part of the circuit, towards the completion of another lap, and very shortly Archie Clifford Roberts will be on lap number 13 of this race. So yeah, still pretty good even battle between Chris Pinchbeck and Dave Hedges, and it's still any wonder what might happen in the next 12 or so minutes, because these two, we've seen Dave Hedges battling away all the way through both races. We've seen it from Chris Pinchbeck, we've seen it from Aaron Walker, we've seen it from Steve Haley, and look at Haley and Walker at the moment. They're just over 9 tenths of a second apart in second and third position respectively.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, these guys, certainly the top 10 and maybe a few more. See another replay here. Looks like Neutlings and Kelsey.
Oh no! Parker gets it all.
Parker gets a tap.
Yeah. Again. Well, I think at the end of it, Mark actually made it through the chicane, whereas Ranjiv Kelsey went sideways going into the approach, and then Dan Parker, as he tried to power out through the chicane, the back end went completely sideways. Well, there was a tap. Oh,
yeah.
So Kelsey
tapped him. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelsey tapped him, but luckily enough, Parker kept the place. More interestingly than anything else there.
Well, that just highlights what I was going to say. You know, the top 10 and maybe a few more of these guys, they can run so close together, lap after lap, and you know, be within tenths of a second of each other. And that's what some of the other guys are developing with their skills when they're racing with us week in, week out, and on the practice servers. And that's the big improvements. It's not necessarily the lap times that they're improving. It's actually the ability to race really close and not tap their opponent. And that's what makes great racing. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, Gavin Utley now looking to try and get past Dean Riley. You've got Adam Isolovic and Gianluca De Luca. As Isolovic trying to go up the inside of the 135 Aston, 2 wheels on the dirt there for the 111 Ferrari. He nearly lost that well and truly. But then Dean Riley looking to go towards the other side of the 111 into the next corner, looking to get the cut back through. As De Luca runs wide, tags Isolovic, tags into Riley. And Gavin Utley makes great his escape there.
Yep. Prime example of capitalising on someone else's mistake, and unfortunately that was 3 cars that were involved in that, 2 of them through no fault of their own. And it has to be said, Gianluca really sort of lost it on the power. That was potentially a racing incident. There was not, once he'd lost the back end, there wasn't much he could do there. As we see, Regan's closed right back up on Dave Hedges. Dave Hedges right back up on Chris Pinchbeck, and heading into turn 5 again into the chicane.
Yeah, it looks like they've dropped Lukas Kakos in the meantime, but then Bliv AK is being hounded by Chris Crossman, who's about a quarter of a second off of the back bumper of the Nissan GTR, aka Godzilla. Don't really hear that much anymore because Nissan sort of effectively stopped running GTR, GT3 cars in real life, with KCMG, one of their most notable ones, using it in the VLN series and also the Nurburgring 24 Hours. And they've now switched to Porsche, if memory serves me correctly, for KCMG. Is now we see again what happens. We get the tail end. We see it there, and then you can just see that. Gianluca De Luca came back onto it. Adam Isolovic had nowhere to go, got a little tag for his troubles, and then also Dean Riley got a little tag for his troubles as a result of the domino effects. And then Gavin Utley was just able to straight line it. Okay, it was over the cross, but he got through. That was the main point there for Gavin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mistake there from Dave Hedges. That was the front end went up in the air. I think that was through Arista there. So as Adam Isolovic gets a drive-through penalty for his troubles, as Bliv AK and Chris Crossman now closing. So that has allowed Regan Mitchell up into 5th place as a result of Dave Hedges' unwanted mistake there, if I'm completely and truthfully honest, with just it was just over the 9-minute mark to go. So Dave Hedges now having to fight quite significantly here as the Isolovic serves his drive-through.
Yeah, poor Dave there, who's showing great consistency, and he just took too much of that inside curb, which unsettled the car, as we saw, and he's put him into the clutches of Bliv AK and Chris Crossman, who were battling hard there, and he's got Lucas up in front of him.
Yeah, so Lucas now about 1.6 seconds up the road, according to the timing screens on the left-hand side. Bliv AK is now just over 3.5 tenths of a second behind Dave Hedges, but then Chris Crossman in the number 3 Porsche, he took the opening win back at Silverstone, and he's kept himself in the fray, let's be honest here, despite the trials and tribulations he had at Monza a few weeks ago. But Chris Crossman now trying to get some consistent point scores on the board to help him get closer and closer to the battle at the front of the field in terms of the drivers' standings.
Yeah, I mean, it's just has to say there, Dave made a couple of other little mistakes there as we go to another replay.
And that's Aaron Walker. He whacked into the side of Steve Haley there. Oh my goodness, even the 2 teammates collide, but luckily enough they got away with that one, and Chris Pinchbeck is now close to within 2 seconds of them. As we're on lap number 15, 7 minutes and 18 seconds still to go. And I'm sure that Steve and Aaron will probably say, they'll probably have a discussion post-race and go, what happened there?
I think there'll be a letter of apology.
Yes, with a I'm sorry card sent in by email. Kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, those things do happen. You know, Aaron, I think, would just look to be a bit too hot through there, as Chris Bowman just being shown the blue flags, keeping out of the way, so making sure the faster cars get through. But Bliv AK, another standout drive for the Nissan driver with the that lovely red and white, you know, obviously the official colours of Nismo themselves, and with the Gran Turismo showing on the side of it. That's a really good livery as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really good car. I mean, it's a favourite of a lot of drivers. I know when it was first released within the sim, a lot of people jumped in it and had a go at it, but it is a difficult car to extract the speed out of, and that's why I keep sort of mentioning Blib's work. He's stuck with it, he's working with it, you know, and he's getting there. He's putting on some good performances, and I think tonight's probably his best performance in it so far. And this race too, he's really making a good go of it. He's putting in some good lap times. He's indeed
Regan Mitchell.
Place,
Regan Mitchell has just had dramas. They've just passed him on the main straightaway. That was Regan Mitchell on the right-hand side, I believe. So Mitchell out of the top 5. Karkosh now up into 5th. Dave Hedges in 6th. Bliv AK in the Nissan now 7th. Chris Crossman in 8th. And I'm wondering, did Regan Mitchell have a moment coming through the final chicane? That's the biggest concern that I have, because he was running in the top 5.
Yeah, he come out of that chicane and trying to get on the power as early as possible, and he does quite often unsettle the back end. But what did I say about Mr. Pinchbeck? He just soaks up the pressure, and now all of a sudden the two guys that were pressuring him, they're the ones that have made the mistakes, and Chris is in clear air now and just a couple of seconds or so behind the second and third place.
Yep, so on lap number 16, we've got just over 5 minutes remaining of the second 30-minute sprint race here at Circuit Zolder in the Limburg region in Belgium. Archie Clifford Roberts is looking to make it 2 for 2 this evening, and he's got a gap of 16.7 seconds over Steve Haley. So that will help his championship hopes no end, as we've got a drive-through for the number 12 of Chris Bowman for track limits. This is Richard Pixley, the number 7 Imilify Jaguar Racing XKR GT3, not too far behind the 667 of Optimum Motorsports Reese Wiggin, who's currently running at the top 15. Mark Neutelings, Ranjiv Kalsi, Adam Isolovic and Joao Diaz running at the top 20. So the top 20 will score points. There's Aaron Martin Pilkington closing on Dean Riley for 13th place. And he's about half a second adrift in the Aston Martin. So we'll see if Aaron can close up to Dean Riley in the latter stages. Looks like he did so in that chicane, but the Ferrari will get a good run of traction coming out of the final chicane and come across the start-finish line. So the gap between them was just over half a second. It's now 0.7. So Riley already in the Ferrari starting to try and break away from the Aston Martin.
Yeah, Riley, I mean, he puts on some reasonable performances, but I have to say, I think Mr. Pilkington, he hasn't had the best season with us so far. He's had a few incidents, and he's not always finishing where I would expect him, because he's a very talented driver, and he's a fast driver, and you know, I would have put money on him at the beginning of the season, being well within the top 10, not a problem at all. But yeah, like I say, he's had a few come-wins together here and there, a few incidents, not all his own fault, but it's good to see he had a good, strong first race, and he's making some ground back up now, back up into 14th.
Yep, so just over 3.5 minutes to go. And Clifford Roberts still doing the job he needs to do, just keeps his head down, blinkers on, and just powers away. Here's Chris Crossman. We're on board on the front splitter of the Porsche 911 GT3R 991-2 derivative as they go through the final chicane. And he's trying to keep pace with Bliv AK, but is about 0.7 of a second adrift last time around. Let's see what the gap is this time around as they come across the start-finish line. 0.546. So Chris Crossman did a 1:28.986. Bliv AK a 1:29.037. But Bliv AK, as you've mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Steve, has just gotten on with the job at hand. He's kept consistent. He's kept with the Nissan, and he's trying to make it work for himself. So he's learning as he goes along, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah, he's developing the setup every single race. He puts the hours in, he puts the practice in. He's got the knowledge. He's working with the car that he's got. He's sticking with his choice. He's not jumping around, and he's got the racecraft. He's a good driver. He's living, you know, in the Audi. He's even faster, you know. But he wanted the challenge. He picked the Nissan and he's gone with it. He's stuck with it. So credit to the guy. You know, kudos to him. He's doing a great job with it, and he's putting on a good show. And he's certainly keeping a very talented driver here by the name of Chris Crossman behind him at the moment.
Yeah, this is the battle for 7th position, coming into the dying stages of the race here. And just the amount of commitment, a little bit of run wide on the right rear from Bliv AK. Oh, moment for Crossman. Oh, and he hits the barriers with the front end of the Porsche. Oh, the back end stepped out, and that was not what Chris Crossman needed.
No, and that was just how hard he was trying. I mean, that corner, or that series of corners, is absolute full commitment, because as you come out of the other chicane, you are wanting to be full on the power, and if you get the line right, you can bury the throttle and not lift. But if you're just a couple of inches out, you do have to lift. And in the Porsche, if you have to lift, as you see there, you get some snap oversteer, and usually there's no, you can't come back from that.
No, and I did see in the distance, Chris Crossman lost a lot of time to Rich Smith as a result of that off, but I think he got away with that. But obviously the front end of that Porsche is going to have a little bit of damage, and he's going to have to wrestle with that for the next 90 seconds or so. As we've had, looks like Peter Hrobar in the number 32 Land Motorsport Audi has pulled into the pits. From 11th position, he's dropping down the order now. I'm wondering if he's had a fuel, if he's not fueled the car up. We had that with Dave Hedges, didn't we, in race 1?
Steve Haley.
Steve Haley. Sorry, my apologies there. Sorry, Dave. It's been a long day. That's all I'm saying. But Lukasz Kakos now having Dave Hedges for close company as Richard Pixley trying to go side by side with Rhys Wiggin. That front end of that Jaguar is absolutely battle-scarred, as is the front of that McLaren. But Pixley looking to try and get ahead of Rhys Wiggin. This is very, very close. Oh, nigh on nearly a little bit of contact there. Oh, he gets turned around. But luckily enough, he keeps it. Oh, crikey. 30 seconds on the clock. Leaders on the final lap now as Lukasz Kakos now being hounded by Dave Hedges, who has got the front spotlights as well as the LED headlights on that Audi well and truly ablaze. And Archie Clifford Roberts just doing the job he needs to do. 18.3 seconds onto the final lap. That's the gap between him and Steve Haley. Aaron Walker, let's not forget, is he's less than a tenth and a half behind the number 24, and they're on the last lap. Warning shot across the barrel maybe if Aaron's a little bit quicker. I'm just having a look at the lap times. Well, Aaron did a 1:28.683. Steve Haley did a 1:29.1 last time round. Time has now hit 0. That's it. Steve Haley is down in second, so Aaron Walker has got past on the final lap, but it just depends on whether the teammates decide to argue amongst themselves as if to say, no, you go first. No, you go first. No, you first. And then someone would just decide, well, forget it. I'll just go through anyway.
Yeah, I think last lap, that's it. It's a battle. There's no one around them, and they're going to bring it home where they are now. But yeah, if there's any mistakes made, Steve will capitalise. But I don't think Aaron will. We've seen him drive a fantastic GT4 championship, so he knows what he's doing. Well,
it's 2 for 2 for Archie Clifford Roberts here at Zolder in Belgium. Does the double extends his championship lead here this evening on round 6 of the season with Spa-Francorchamps in just a couple of weeks' time. But it is going to be, could it be, are they trying to do a formation finish here? That's priceless from these two drivers. Who's going to go first? Is it going to be, well, Haley gets it by just over a tenth. So Aaron, I think, just did the sporting thing and went, no, you go first. And Steve went, thank you very much for opening the door for me. And takes the first step forward, or the first lunge forward, let's say.
Yeah, that's one. That's one Steve Haley owes Aaron Walker, then I would say. Might keep that one in the bank.
Yeah, for next time out at Spa-Francorchamps. Chris Pinchbeck makes it a top 4 lockout again for Audi in 4th place. Lukasz Kakos in the Lamborghini. Oh, Jeffrey Wolf getting brave in the latter stages, and that was probably over. That was around Chris Bowman. Now, that was a definitive track cut there. Sorry, Jeffrey, you're going to have to give the position back, and he's slowing down to do so. But Lukasz Kakos takes 5th place ahead of Dave Hedges. Bliv AK rounds out the top 7 ahead of Chris Crossman. As Rich Smith takes 9th ahead of Regan Mitchell in 10th position. Gavin Utley in 11th. Aaron Martin Pilkington in 12th. Dean Riley in 13th. As Jeffrey Wolf going side by side with Chris Bowman into the final chicane. Who's going to come out on top? Oh, they clash. Oh, no. So Jeffrey Wolf, that was not really a gap that you needed to go for there, because I'm sorry to say, but Chris Bowman was closing the door, and look, he's parked it, waiting for Chris Bowman to rejoin. Now, isn't this the ultimate show of sportsmanship I think I've ever seen in this? And here comes Chris Bowman, and there's just Jeffrey Wolf going to let Chris Bowman go past, and then just engage his first gear, crosses the line, takes the flag. That's the ultimate bit of sportsmanship. He knew he did a bit of a clanger there, didn't he? But wow, what a race again! A fitting way. Archie Clifford Roberts doing the double here at Zolder, and some great racing all up and down the field this evening here, Steve.
Yeah, it's been some fantastic racing, as we said. The stewards are going to be a little bit busy tomorrow evening, issuing some penalties, I would imagine, just from my judgment of seeing some of those incidents. But generally good racing. The guys up at the front, certainly. Standout driver of the evening for me, Chris Pinchbeck. He's been consistent. Obviously, Archie's brought it home in both races. He's a bit of a Lewis Hamilton, isn't he, at the moment? It's difficult to give him driver of the day because, to be honest, when he's on the track, it's almost what I expect to see. So yeah, Chris Pinchbeck driver of the day because I think that's his best results of the season so far, really, to finish where he has there.
Yeah, well, I think we might as well head down to the interview booth, Steve, because it looks like we've got a couple of drivers to interview.
Great stuff.
Right, so I think this is the first time I actually get to, if he's there, Clifford Roberts. Good evening. Well done this evening.
Thank you.
Pretty much textbook there, if I'm honest with you. Pole position in race 1, streaks away with a comfortable gap, and then, okay, Steve Haley did got you by 60 thousandths going into race 2, but then, again, a comfortable win here, extending your championship after deciding not to take part in Monza. How are you feeling after this evening's proceedings?
Quite good, actually. First off, I'd like to thank my friend Neil for helping me out. For my original PC, had a lot of trouble, but he lent me his PC for this race. I wouldn't have done this race if it weren't for him, so thank you, buddy. In terms of the race, the first race was fine. I went off and won. That was easy. No, it wasn't easy. It was pretty much textbook. But to be honest, race 2 qualifying, I got held up in my last flying lap. I was 2.5 tenths up, and I got held up by a couple of people that were preparing for their flying lap in the last corner. I was fuming, if I'm honest. I was absolutely raging, but no, I'm glad that I managed to get Haley in the first lap in the race.
No, well done there, Arch. But obviously 2 weeks from now we head to Spa-Francorchamps. Is that a track?
Sorry, so that again, you cut out.
Yeah, with regards to Spa-Francorchamps in just a couple of weeks' time, is that a track racing? You've got a 2-hour endurance race in time at in Spa-Francorchamps. You looking forward to that one?
Yeah. I think I think it'll be really close, to be honest. I think the Ferrari's good there. I think the Audi's good there. The Lambo. I think it'll be much closer than it was tonight. I think Aaron, he'll definitely be up there. I think James Hartnell will definitely be up there. Haley, the list goes on, mate. Honestly, it won't be easy. But no, really excited for that. 2 hours, 100 points at stake. I look forward to it.
Well done tonight, Arch. Great job all evening long, and we'll Spa-Francorchamps.
Cheers, buddy.
Right, next up, let's go to Aaron Walker. Aaron, very interesting race too, especially with the clash between teammates and the final chicane, I think a lap from the end, but quite an interesting race all round because Archie initially didn't have the run that he thought he might have in the initial.
Alex, you're breaking up a bit, but yeah, no, it went fairly well for me, to be honest. Two thirds, I'm happy with that. Obviously, you brought up that I took Steve out in the last chicane. I think I just put a wheel on the grass as I was braking, which turned me around. I was a bit of a passenger. Fortunately, it didn't affect us too much. I'm guessing that Steve took more damage than I did, which is why I didn't want to take that place off him. It was good. It was very good. Well done to Archie. He's very quick here. Impossible to win when he's on the track here. So if he comes second, it's almost like winning, Alex.
That's really good to hear. And obviously, season 4 just around the corner. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's all good, mate. Obviously, every event that we put on, we look forward to. I just hope everyone turns up and we have a big grid for it.
Brilliant. Well, all the very best of luck at Spa-Francorchamps for the 2-hour encounter in just a couple of weeks' time. Well done tonight, Aaron.
Thanks.
Right. I think really that's about it from us here at Simsport Racing. Steve, thoroughly enjoyable evening tonight, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic racing. We knew it would be. The 30-minute sprint races always give us some action. It gives the opportunity for the drivers, as we said, to reset at the end of race 1 and have another go. But yeah, awesome racing. Thanks to Mike for doing the cameras for us, and thanks to you, Alex, also for the awesome commentating as ever.
Well, good to have you alongside me as well, Steve. I can't really do it without a wingman, can I?
It's great working with you, Alex, and we do appreciate it. And we're really happy to have yourself and Mike on board with us at Simsport Racing now.
Yeah, well, that's it from us here from Circuit Zolder. Join us on September the 13th, 2 weeks' time, 7 p.m. as we get going at the iconic Spa-Francorchamps. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you for watching, and a very good night. Have a great bank holiday weekend.
Never really saw you coming until you turned me around. Used to think I was nothing, but look at this love we found.